Okay, so welcome back. In this particular video, we are going to discuss the image tag. And this tag you are going to run into over and over again. Now, you're looking at this tag thinking, wow, this is kind of complicated. And not really. The image tag really looks like this. The rest of it I'll explain in just a minute. So, image tag allows you to grab any image, whether it's an external image from a different website or even your internal image that might be sitting on your website. It acts just like a hyperlink, and which you'll learn later on. But where it starts out with is the tag here, of course, these brackets surrounding it, and it starts with IMG, standing for image for short, and then you put a space, and then you put SRC, which stands for source, or basically image source equals quotations, and then of course the file name inside. Now, like I said, this could be a file that is sitting on your server. It doesn't necessarily have to be a .jpeg or .jpg. It can be a .png file. It can be a .gif. Any sort of image file, it will work. So this could link here. This could link to www.yourdomain.com/image name.jpg or whatever the image extension might be. So that's how easy it is to create a image tag. And without having to even go to Composer, you can simply type this in and pull any image that you want in. Now, what you saw earlier was the alt tag. So if we add an alt tag, so after we've done this, after the quotation has closed that URL off, now we can put a space and we can put the word alt equals quotation. And alt tag is basically going to tell Google or any other search engine robot what the image is all about. So what you're doing is you're taking a step further and making it more search engine friendly. So the alt tag is pointing to what it is all about. So let's say, for example, this is an image of a puppy. So let's say a golden retriever puppy. So you would type in golden retriever puppy, and you might be able to type in what it's doing. Maybe it's biting, and your image is about how to stop puppies from biting. So Google will read that and it will say, okay, this must be about golden retriever puppy biting. Does the content that is surrounding it actually relate to this? And if it does, then that's a good sign. Now, the other stuff that you saw was what we call the style, the width, and height. Now, typically, you're not going to run into that unless you want to resize the image. So I'm not really going to teach you that right now. I would rather you go to Composer and test it out there, but I don't want to overwhelm you, and I want you to just memorize that you have the tag here. So let's do that again. So starting from scratch, image source, remember? So I like to start with the bracket. Now, the image tag does not have a close tag necessarily. It's just IMG SRC, so image source equals that. So I like to do that. And then I put the file name inside and the extension. And that's essentially it. And then alt tag equals quotation, and then the SEO friendly keyword. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now, whenever you add the width and the height, that is only if you want to resize it. So if you want to resize it, then you can add a width and height. But for now, I just want you to learn the basics, and let's jump on over to Composer and I'll show you. So if I go to Composer here, and let's say, for example, that I'm going to center align this image, I'm going to go ahead and click on image, and I'm going to go ahead and find an image. Now, these images are on my computer, obviously. So if I click on do not use alternate text, and typically with Composer, if you do not enter alternate text, it will ask you and it will give you a warning message. So you want to enter the alternate text, which is basically what Google robots see to see what your image is all about. So we can say how to say puppy biting, and we'll click OK, and there we go. So obviously this is not an image of a puppy biting, but I'm just using this as an example. Now, if you click on source here, you will see that we can see the IMG and the SRC down here. Now, of course, there's a style down here, which is telling us the style and the alt tag. But if we were to remove this, this is what it would look like. We can see IMG SRC equals the location of the file. Now, I've said this before, but Composer will generally directly link to your computer, and you don't want that. You want it to link to your website or to the file. So if this HTML file is located in the same folder as your image, then you can simply remove everything and just simply put the file name between the quotations. And that's probably the easiest way to go. Now, if your image is in a specific location on your website, the easiest thing to do is find the location and then put the location here. Just make sure that this is not linking to your computer, because when you upload it to the internet, nobody else can see your computer except for you. So it may work for you, but it's not going to work for everybody else. So I'm going to leave it at that, and so we can keep it simple. But if you ever want to resize it via Composer without needing to know all the width and height and all the styling and stuff like that, you can always double click it and go to dimensions, and you have the actual size here. You can do custom size, and what I like to do is make sure that the constraint option is selected, simply because if a picture, let's say for example, is 900 by 597, you don't want to distort it when you decrease it down to 500. You want to keep the width and the height scale the same. So when I press OK, it looks like this, right? Now, if I don't press the constraints, as you saw I did earlier, and I just do something like 500, and I press OK, you can see how it has distorted the image itself. So that's another little tip that I have with utilizing Composer. So by all means, if you want to stick with Composer, great, that's fine. But I'd highly recommend you at least memorize this simple tag, because when it comes to editing with WordPress or any type of content management system that utilizes an HTML editor, sometimes you're going to run into snags along the way. And if you know this tag, then you can get past simple roadblocks. All right, so hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll move on to the next one.